Yeah. I always pictured I would be one of the greatest. Become every sense of the word and stun on those who hate it. Something that I was given my parents that couldn't take it. Resilience to every stone that was cast, I demonstrated. Every stone I put in bracelets. Beauty underrated.
Welcome to the Rob and Rob for Life podcast, the podcast for the culture, black media, black athletes, black excellence, all black everything. I'm your gracious host, Rob Bruin, along with my good brother, Rob McLean. Talk to me. How you feeling?
I'm good, bro. You know I'm a Brooklyn Nets fan and everything, bro. So
You're so excited. You're so excited.
I'm excited. I'm just blessed. We're blessed to just have this guy on the show. He's tearing it up right now, courtside.
Absolutely. We have the 2016 Indiana Sportscaster of the Year in the building and current Brooklyn Nets Sideline Reporter, Mike Grady. How you doing, bro?
I'm good. Good to be on with you fellas.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being here.
So just tell us, because we're both East Coast guys. You from the Midwest. What's the east side of Indiana looking like?
Yeah, I never been
East, it's all love in Indiana. From Indianapolis, man, coming up, aspiring to be like a sportscaster or whatever, man. It's a tight knit group, man. Family was real important there. Still got a lot of friends over there. There's parts of the east side that can be rough, for sure. But my mom worked hard to keep me out of that. Had good people around me, man. And but it's really all love, man. It's a lot of good people there in India, and they still like family. So coming up the way that I did, man, I'm somebody's son, somebody's brother, somebody's older brother. I'm somebody's uncle there. I'm somebody's whatever. It's
a little bit of everything.
We all fam, yeah, for sure.
I hear that. So obviously you're killing it in the photography space right now as well. That's that your side hustle is something you like to do as well. But you've been staying on top of the Black Lives Matter movement. You've gotten your incognito stance. You were out there, had your mask on. We're taking a lot of good pictures. Killing it, right? So really touch on how important that is for you and talk about how sports is going to shift, or how you may think sports is going to shift the conversation from the Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah, well, it's something we got to keep an eye on and make sure that the conversation doesn't have a dramatic shift where we're not talking about these issues at all anymore. And so, for me, and for a lot of people, a lot of folks are kind of finding their voice in this whole thing. A lot of folks have been silent for a long period of time, or they don't want to mess up their money, or they don't want to have uncomfortable conversations, whatever it may be on both sides. And this whole situation and the series of events that led up to it, with it being a pandemic at the same time, and seeing what's happening on television, seeing the George Floyd video, the Breonna Taylor story, Ahmaud Arbery, what happened before that, it was just like enough is enough. We've been saying enough is enough for a long period of time, and it got to a point where everybody was tired of saying enough is enough, and we have to do something about it. So despite there being a pandemic and concerns and health and all this other type of stuff, people from all different walks of life, all different shades, felt compelled to go out on the street and let their voice be heard, and speaking out against racism and police brutality. And then what spurs it on even more is seeing police brutality at an anti-police brutality protest. And so then more and more people are starting to go out in the streets holding up signs. And so art has always been like a big, part of my life, whether it was writing music, rhymes, poetry, and then photography has always been there. And that's how I choose to communicate outside of the airwaves. That's another way that I choose to communicate, and that's, poetry through pictures. And there was so much happening on the street. I wanted to be the part of the protest as it was, but fellas, you guys both know this, we're living history too. And to be able to document that in some way, shape, or form meant a lot to me. So to see so many people rallying together for an important cause and having those uncomfortable conversations and trying to get that momentum going was really beautiful to see. And it's not over with.
Okay. Going back to the NBA starting back up, do you think that's a smart move with like everything that's going on in the world?
I trust that there are guys who are going to try to keep the main thing, and try to keep these issues at the forefront. When I talk to guys like Garrett Temple or other, with the Nets, or hear from other guys in the league, I know it's important to them. I know that these causes are extremely important to them. And they wrestled with whether or not should we play, should we not, what should we do? And in deciding to play, it wasn't a decision that they took lightly. And so they're going to take it upon themselves and a lot of guys around the league to make sure that they keep the message going, not just by a message on the back of the jersey, but how they communicate with the media, how they answer certain questions and making sure that they stay focused. There was a piece of me that was always skeptical that even if the protests and people on the streets and all that type of thing dies down, that having a distraction like the NBA is going to completely shift the conversation from Breonna Taylor or whatever is important right now, change, reform, whatever it may be. It's going to shift it from that to LeBron. Are they going to the Western Conference Finals? They're going to the championship. How many points did Dame have last night? Hey, you think the Nets are going to do this? Yo, Giannis and the Bucks, it's just, that's what, given how long this whole, the pandemic has lasted and continues to go on, people have been dying for sports.
Literally.
And so to see it come back is sort of, it's a welcome distraction for some, because of all this, negativity that's going on in the world. And for others, it gives them an opportunity to turn a blind eye to issues that a lot of folks in the Black community have been trying to get people to see for a long time. And so they saw it for, a few weeks or whatever it may be. Okay, let's please get back to basketball. And so, yeah, there's a piece of me that's like, no, we're going to continue to have this conversation and try to avoid as many distractions as possible. So I was torn. Once that train got rolling, there was no way of stopping it. So my shift and my hope is in these guys taking responsibility and continue to keep these conversations moving forward so that people can't continue to turn a blind eye to causes that are really important to us.
Yeah, I agree with you on that because it's only a distraction, right? If you make it be a distraction, for real.
Yeah, and that's why you got to keep having these conversations, So it's real easy, a lot of folks now are talking about the conditions in the bubble. People are talking about snitching in the bubble. People are talking about food in the bubble. Guys are going fishing, going to water parks, playing 2K in the bubble. A lot of talk about that. But they still haven't arrested Breonna Taylor's killers. And so we there's a balance, there's a balance. Obviously, we all love the game. We want to see the game played and we want to see who comes out on top. But there's still justice that needs to be served. There's still change that needs to happen. And we need to keep those conversations flowing and not get easily distracted.
Gotcha. Mike, I need your feedback on this before we leave this topic. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but Stephen A. Smith and Steven Jackson have been going back and forth a little bit in the media. You being a Black journalist yourself, Steven Jackson went on to the Don Lemon show, obviously on CNN, and Don Lemon had him on, and his persona, his demeanor was a little bit defensive, right? And he expressed that he wasn't completely aware of the topic that he was speaking on. Then the following day, Stephen A. Smith goes and they have a whole topic on him in the rundown about how bad he looked on air. I just want your take on how you would treat your fellow brother. Not saying you think Stephen A. Smith did it wrong, but how you would treat your brother that's a journalist in the field, how you would speak to him or let him know he's doing something wrong off camera.
Yeah, well, off camera is the key. Like, that's where I would have that conversation. And I don't know who the execs are with ESPN or First Take or whatever it may be. But as a brother, if I was an exec, I would be uncomfortable with Stephen A. Smith going at Steven Jackson, another brother who, again,
that really bothered
fighting.
me.
Yeah,
bothered me.
Fighting for the cause. And so I always have an issue with that because for some people, that's what they want to see. And it's another distraction.
Exactly.
That divides
Exactly.
us. So I go to the Kendrick Perkins going at Kyrie Irving thing, and Kyrie's saying, hey, hold up. Maybe we shouldn't be rushing to do this. Let's have a conversation. We all want the same thing. And so for Kendrick to go off and snap and all those type of things and go off on Kyrie, again, it's a distraction. It takes away from what we're trying to stay focused on. And so when KD says sellout in regards to Kendrick,
Perk answer back.
I don't think it's like I haven't talked to KD about it, but I don't think it's like sellout in the traditional sense of sellout when we talk about like us, like oh brother, you know sellout. It's KD and Kendrick have been on the like same team together. They had like issues with the media. Probably made fun of the media together, like they really talking about us, and they're not even in the locker
now
room.
you on the other
interviewing
side.
us or whatever. Now he's on the other side, and he's snapping about stuff that he really doesn't know about. So from that standpoint, bro, you sold out, you know, and you're giving the execs what they want. You're yelling, you're attacking this guy, and it's a shame that that this type of stuff happens and people fall for the banana in the tailpipe
clickbait
because they're getting a check. So yeah, so I'm with you on that. I'm not for any division whatsoever. And ESPN, you know, there is a push to swing for the fences with your opinion and your commentary.
A huge swing.
Yeah, and there's dangers in that. There's danger in that, and I think we've certainly seen that over the course of the past month or so.
That was very well said, my brother. I definitely could appreciate that.
No
now,
doubt.
your hustle, your work ethic is sensational. How did you juggle being a radio host in the morning, preparing for sports in the evening, then doing your PA duties for the Indiana Pacers, then going back to the station for nightly news? What type of motor is in you? You know, I know the hustle is real, but what is that?
Yeah, man. You know, I got to be honest, man. That hustle is what kind of drew me to New York, man, because New Yorkers, man, and I've always had like this affinity for 80s New York. And even though that was like before my time, but, you know, dudes would be walking the street, like you bump into, you know, Jean-Michel Basquiat, for example, and he's a painter. He's also in a band. He also does this, a little bit of that. And it's like, if this is where your heart, if this is what moves you, why not do it? And so when I was growing up, I wanted to be a sportscaster. Radio was the route I decided to go. The Pacers liked my voice and asked me to be a PA announcer. I grew up cheering for the Pacers. So what I'm gonna say, no? Yeah, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna try to make this work. So I'm doing the morning, doing the radio show in the morning, and then at nights I've got the Pacers. And then one particular year, the TV station, one of the sports stations in Indy, the sports anchor left, and they needed help with Pacers coverage during the playoff run back in 2014 when the Pacers went to the Eastern Conference Finals and then lost to Miami. And they said, well, he does PA for the Pacers. He talks about, he's knowledgeable about it because he does a radio show. So let's get Michael to do it just for the postseason. Since we need somebody right now, then we'll hire somebody. And so I came in and I was like, I've always, wanted to get into TV, didn't know how it was going to happen. So when they asked me, again, what I'm going to say, no? Yeah, I'm going to figure it out. Yeah, let's do it. So, I'm doing a radio show. I may be in Indianapolis or I may be on the road for one of the playoff games. Then may have PA responsibilities for this home game. And then, like you mentioned, then doing the sportscast afterwards. And it went so well. If the Pacers had been knocked out in the first round, they probably would have moved on and hired somebody else. But they got to the Eastern Conference Finals. They got me a lot of reps. And then right after that, they reached out.
That was great for you.
Yeah. It's like, hey, you want to...
That was the blessing in disguise.
Right. So they offered me a contract. So now I got the radio show. I'm a sports anchor in the evening and then doing PA. And they just let me juggle all this stuff. And so being a kid from Indiana and growing up, it was like a good story for them, for all parties involved.
Absolutely.
And then it's just up to me, to kill it. So 7 days a week, man, that was a grind. That stretch was like, when I got the TV gig up until the time that I left, was like 3 years of 7 days a week, man, like nonstop. And when you love what you do, man, it's not work. It was time consuming, but it's what I grew up really wanting to do. And so it was no thing. It was no thing, for sure.
Was there any challenges at first for you, like being a radio producer to now reporting and covering? That's kind of different. Like normally you could be a producer and you could go do reporting, but you're a radio producer. So what were some challenges you had at first?
Yeah, I think the main thing was, for us, if we're given any opportunity, that we're going to kill it. Like we're going to just go out there and kill it. And my whole thing was not being pigeonholed. So I knew going in that I wanted to be either a play-by-play guy or a sportscaster in some way. But you got to pay your dues. And so coming in, I was just a board op, just pushing buttons, and then slowly but surely working my way up. And as a board op, I was killing it. And it's like, oh, Michael's great at board op, but it's like, hold on, I can announce too. You know, and I get producer responsibilities, and again, I'm killing it. We don't know what else to do. We do the best that we can with the opportunities that are given us. And hey, Grady's a great producer. Hold on, I can announce too. And then opportunity to
it's
announce.
Like, damn, you do that too?
Right. And so it's just one of those things about taking advantage of the opportunities that are given to you. Not being so caught up into when your time is going to come. It is going to come. Try to appreciate and enjoy the journey and what you're doing. Because if I got, pissed off about the fact that opportunities weren't coming that quick, then my energy would not have been contagious. It would not have been the type of energy where an employer would say, hey, we want to give you this opportunity. You know what I mean? If I'm anger or bitter because, man, it's been so long, you got to bring me in because I've been doing this for like 6 years, yo.
Yeah.
Then
Gotta keep grinding.
Keep grinding and maintain that enthusiasm for what I'm doing and that love for what I'm doing. And so, when I was just pushing buttons, man, I was the happiest. Like I was enjoying pushing the hell out of them buttons, man. every step along the way, man, I just tried to enjoy the journey. And then it may feel like a long time for me, but in the grand scheme of things, man, there are people that are, older than me that are still grinding and looking for an opportunity. It's all like subjective in how we look at it. It's like, it may take time, but it's supposed to take time, And we just keep working and grinding and doing what we do until that opportunity comes that we've been praying for a long time.
And you also do announcing as well. When you do announcing, you paint a picture for the audience. So has that changed like your approach towards reporting in a way?
My reporting was always inspired by Ahmad Rashad back in the day, man. And so watching The Last Dance was kind of cool for me, man, because it reminded me of why I wanted to do this.
Ahmad Rashad is elite.
Yeah, that's the guy.
Yeah, man. And so it's not just the like, oh man, he got to kick it with these dudes or whatever. Like I just want to like hang on, be a hanger on or anything like that. I was such a huge fan, like a huge NBA fan, and seeing Ahmad Rashad interview a guy and humanize a guy. Like he hoops, but he also likes to draw in his spare time. Or this dude really loves to roller skate in his spare time. Or this guy really loves to fish, and then having a conversation about that and seeing these guys come out of their shell, these athletes that I, would root for and watch, seeing them come out of their shell and seeing that whole thing unfold just really drew me to it. And as a young kid, like I appreciated that. And as I got into the business, it was, I want to do that for the audience. I want to do that for the viewers, the listeners, that when I interview, if I'm in Indiana, Paul George, I'm going to humanize Paul George in a way that you feel a stronger connection with him than you did when you just saw him making baskets, And I feel like that being that liaison between the fan base, the audience, and the players, I feel like that's an important one. I feel like a lot of trust has to be involved there. And that's kind of my approach, is to really humanize these guys and show a different side of these guys. It's a little bit more challenging today because guys can choose to be more closed off because, hey, they got social media. Why do I, why I got to do this?
I don't have to speak to you.
I don't have to speak to you. I'm revealing myself through Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, whatever it may be. And so the trust factor still is extremely important. But that's where, from a sideline reporting standpoint, and from just a journalist or a broadcaster in general, that's where I always draw from, man. Humanizing these guys and building that connection between the players and the audience.
That's big because a lot of people don't really know, like, these athletes, these superstars, they're just like us. They like to do the same things that we like to do, play 2K, so on and so on. So that's good that you're doing that, man.
Yeah. No, I think these are great guys, man, and I think they appreciate it too. I think they really appreciate it too. I know the fans appreciate it when we're able to do that and have these talks and chats with these guys, or not just the locker room, but when D'Angelo Russell was on the Nets, we went to Sweet Chick and had a whole video shoot there, and then went to a park, had his dogs and that whole thing. Went to Dumbo with a few Nets players and was hitting up pizza shops. I was in Chinatown with Jared Allen. Like these these little type of things. I think the fans really appreciate it, and I think the players really respond to it too.
Mike, let me ask you this, just to step back a moment. When did you figure out how to say no after saying yes to so many different commitments?
That's one of the toughest things. It's one of the big piece of advice, when I would talk to high school students or speak at different colleges, is I would tell them to say yes. When I've seen all different sides of different things. When I was in management on the radio side, and I was hiring producers, there were the guys that would come from these 4-year schools, come from good broadcasting programs, and they really felt like they should be on air right off the bat, and they should be doing this and they should be doing that, and it's like, nah, bro, you got to start here.
You got to start here.
I always felt compelled to bring in guys who didn't have the radio experience, who didn't go to school for radio, because those are the guys who were like, I'll do anything. I'll do anything.
They're humble.
Anything, and I like, I'll mop the floors if I need to. And those guys were appealing to me because you have to be humble. You certainly have to be humble. And so if you want to make it, you have to say yes a lot. And then there comes a certain point where you have to start saying no. And feelings might get hurt in the process. You may worry about future opportunities, depend on what was presented to you, for sure. But it's really your own judgment, your own discernment in terms of, can I fit this on my plate? Can I do this to the best of my ability? Is this just for a check? There are a number of things in terms of what you value that come into play when you decide whether or not this is the thing for you, and then being at peace with that. And so I think that's something that's extremely important that I feel like we all have to be on moving forward, if we haven't already, is doing what's important for us, doing what makes the most sense for us. And if it hurts somebody's feelings, then it hurts somebody's feelings. Doing you shouldn't hurt nobody's feelings. But that's just the world that we live in. And so taking care of ourselves, our mental health, what we can balance on our plate, all that type of stuff is extremely important. But valuing whether or not, okay, is this going to get me close to where I want to go? Is this going to help me in any regard? Can I give my all in this? There are a number of factors at play. And so for me, I had a full plate, with radio, TV, the Pacers gig. I had a full plate, and there would be opportunities that would come where, okay, I can fit it in. And there were some where it was, I'm sorry, I can't, and just having to be straight up about it. And so I think everybody goes through that. There are actors that go through that. Well, they'll say yes to any part, and then they get to a point and it's like, I got to turn down this part, and it's a process, it's a journey, but we shouldn't feel any kind of way about saying no and doing what's best for us.
Absolutely. I can't disagree anymore. There's really an important side of people that inspired us, and you touched on a couple of people already, like Ahmad Rashad, and I know Bob Costas has really inspired you as well too. You already touched on the NBA inside stuff with Ahmad Rashad, but I really want you to break down to us how that experience was for you to do your own version with Jared Allen in China, and I want you to tell us as well how the black fungus was and those mushrooms.
Right. Excuse me. Let's sneeze it, right? The food wasn't bad. Actually,
that bad?
I don't try. I'm not big on trying new things.
Me too. I'm squeamish too.
Yeah, and it's not. That says more about me than the food. The food might be amazing, but new stuff every now and then, it's like I don't know. But that was it was good though. It was good, and it was funny. I'm glad that Jared was in the same boat, because if Jared was wolfing everything down,
y'all were both nervous.
It would have been hella awkward. So we both had to kind of together be all right, 3, 2, 1, and try stuff. So, but it was good, man, and it was I had mentioned I had done the thing with D'Lo and a few other guys in Dumbo, but it was the Jared Allen experience that really
Really hit home.
kind of hit home that this is something that young Michael would watch. Like this is something that at home Saturday afternoon, in my tube socks in front of the television. This is the type of content that I would watch and appreciate. You know, and that's when it kind of hit me and kind of come full circle that, man, you're kind of living out what you really hoping that you would live out. And walking down the streets of Chinatown and people recognizing Jared and stopping him. We got cameras rolling, cameraman walking backwards, and we're walking through the streets, and we're just having a conversation about basketball and life. And then hitting the restaurant up and having some good food, continuing to talk basketball about his teammates. And these are the environments where guys let their guard down. And I just really appreciated that, man, because it's something that I have been wanting to do for, on top of a lot of things, for a long time, man. So I just want to continue. I just want to continue that. The Nets are, an amazing organization with some terrific guys, and so we hope to have some more things cooked up with some of these players for real. But that definitely was a moment that just kind of hit home that this is
like
this
mama
cool,
made it type of thing.
Yeah, it's like we're on this. I say the hamster wheel a lot. We're on the hamster wheel a lot. We don't have time. We don't really take
To
time
reflect.
to hop out. Yeah, hop out and go, dang,
I'm doing it.
And I've actually, we've been moving, So the journey's far from over, man. But it's nice to stop and reflect and go, dang, okay, cool. This is awesome,
Yeah, it was cool just seeing you, not just vibing with him, but seeing how he lives off the court. Like you
Yeah.
mentioned, I remember somebody wanted a hug from him. I was just laughing.
Right. He gets I mean, obviously, that size with the afro, man, he gets recognized a lot. And he's a genuine, like, good guy. He's a really good guy, still extremely young, still figuring life out himself in New York. So that's a big jump from Texas and, 1 year of college and then boom, right smack dab in the middle of Brooklyn, So he's adjusting and figuring things out, man. And it was really cool to talk about his experience and his journey.
Yeah, real quick, I just want to talk about your relationship with Bob Lavelle. That's an indie legend. You worked there. What's the best advice that he gave you the time that's working on that show with him?
Yeah, he's the thing about Bob is I've always believed in myself. And when I started working at the radio station, young Black kid, I was 20 years old. There were a lot of people there that were in the middle of their grind. They're in the midst of being in their own hamster wheel. And I would feel ignored. I would feel like people weren't really paying attention to me. I'd walk through the hallways and always talk, acknowledge somebody, hey, how you doing? People just kind of walk by and I didn't pay attention to you. And I always had confidence in my ability. I started doing radio and announcing stuff junior year of high school and, did a junior year, senior year, and then went to, Vincennes and joined their broadcast program. And I chose Vincennes because it threw you right into the fire. And I remember like the first day of class, the teacher was asked, okay, who had a radio program at your high school? And I raised my hand, and the only other person that raised their hand in this full classroom was one of my classmates from my high school. So I knew I already had a leg up on most of the people in there, a lot of talented people, but I had already been doing this for 2 years, and not just doing this, but doing this because I really cared about it. It wasn't one of those, oh, I got radio today. I stayed after school, had a radio show after school, was doing a whole bunch of different things. So I was always confident, and then boom, I'm thrust into a situation in the real world. Nobody's really talking to me. People just kind of walking past, not even acknowledging me. And I know I got all this talent and ability and things inside of me that I want to share and express with the radio station, and not being bitter about it, not being angry about it, just kind of, all right, just going to do the best I can, stay in this lane, try to build relationships, whatever it may be. And Bob was someone who just kind of took me under his wing when the opportunity presented itself. quick story. I started in like June of 2003 at the radio
Mm-hmm.
station. In October, a guy on the who was producing Bob's show broke up with his girlfriend and decided to leave town. Guy packed up his car, drove to San Diego. A week before he broke up with his girl, I had trained on the show to be his backup. So whenever this producer guy, whenever he couldn't do the show, I would be his backup. A week later, breaks up with his girl, packs up his car, leaves.
Dang.
And Bob's like, well, you were the last one to, train on the show. How would you like to take over and be the producer of this show? And it was Friday and Saturday nights from 9:30 to midnight. And I was like, yeah.
That.
So just like that. And so spending the time that I did with Bob, like he was able to see my ability, recognize my ability. And he would tell me, man, you're the most talented person in the building. Like you can do whatever you want to do. Like this place is too small for you. Like it sounds like hyperbole, but this is what this man would tell me on a regular basis. Like this building's too small for you. You're this, and I always had this, humble, modest, like thanks, Bob. All right, I'm gonna continue to push these buttons, whatever. But his belief in me was it's just something I'll never forget, and I thank him for that to this day. And it's amazing to have people like that in your corner because it boosts your confidence that you have in yourself. And it's just really, amazing knowing that you have someone in your corner who believes in you and wants to see you succeed. Because there's a lot of people who may say nice things, but they really don't want you to
don't
succeed.
mean it. Yeah. That's
for that guy to believe in me the way that he did, it was extremely, extremely important, at that time in my life and continues to be.
It's a small world. Can you tell us the story to the viewers, how you met your agent?
Yeah. So
what was that like?
Yeah, it's great. You ask 10 people how they got in the biz and how they grew, man. You get 10 different answers, man. It's like a great question to ask guys as they go on that journey. And mine's pretty unique because, again, Indy was where everything was happening for me. There was a time where, even though people were planting the seeds that, hey, you can go to this, you can do that, or you can do this, or whatever, I was like, okay, true, but I got a good thing going too, Indy kid, grew up in Indy, got 3 jobs, with radio, TV, and the Pacers. And it's like, I'm never going to get fired. I'm just like, they're going to fire the hometown kid. So to put myself in a position like somewhere where they don't know me, where I don't have that like community of people who like, that's our guy. That was kind of a risky thing. And I kind of pushed that off. So Final Four is in Indianapolis, and a college professor of mine decides to drive for Uber this particular weekend. And there were surge pricing, the surge pricing that Uber has or whatever that annoys us when we're looking for a ride. He was going to take advantage of it and like, I'll ride people around and just do it for a weekend, make some extra cash that way. He was a communication studies professor of mine. And so he picks a guy up and they strike up a conversation. And the guy reveals that he's a talent agent. And so my college professor who's driving says, well, I don't know if he has representation, but you should reach out to a former student of mine, Michael Grady. And, some people say, okay, yeah, I'll look into him, and they never do it.
They ain't not looking into
it. They ain't doing it.
And so, so he's in the back of the Uber. He writes my name down, and he looks up, my work. And then sure enough, he reaches out to me. And I put it off for a while. I put it off because, again, the things that I just talked about. Do I really want to entertain the idea of leaving Indianapolis and, my family's here? Like,
especially to let that word hit the street.
Yeah, so there was a lot going through my mind, so I kind of put it off. And then finally, I don't remember what the catalyst was, but I know it was going off and on in my mind. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna reach out to see what he's talking about. And so his name is Jeff Feldman, based in New York. Flew out to New York to visit him, see the offices, get the vibe. If I didn't get a great vibe, That's cool. I'm in New York for a weekend. It's all good.
It's cool.
But if I did get a good vibe, then we'll see what happens. And I got a great vibe. I got a great vibe, and just felt good, positive energy from him, and signed the contract. And so at that particular time, I was doing the radio, TV, and the PA announcing in Indianapolis. He flew me out to a couple of opportunities to interview and do some auditions and stuff like that, after signing the contract with him. And then he was working on a deal with another network. And then he sent me a email saying, hey, the execs changed over at this one network, so I'm working on the new person. Oh, and by the way, the Nets are looking for a sideline reporter. And at that, and the more I thought about the email, I was like, because a lot of things were happening at that particular time. I was really embracing photography at that time. And I was starting to work with a lot of different people. And so number one, my passion for sportscasting and an opportunity to work with the Nets, a team that at the time was coming off a 21-win season. But there was just something about the Nets, man. I'm usually in all black, each day.
It just hit different.
About that, like that Jay-Z connection, which I don't think was still there at the time, but just the whole Brooklyn thing, the whole Brooklyn vibe, there was just something drew me to it, and I felt like something special was happening there. And even though they were a 21-win team, I was like, nah, I got to go. And then on top of that, the photography thing that I was getting into and the opportunity to expand on that and network in New York, travel with the Nets, and be able to work with different people in different cities. We have a day off. I can get a shoot in, do whatever. We're in Phoenix, we're in LA, we're in Miami, we're in Memphis, whatever it may be. And I was like, nah, this is what it is. And so they flew me out to the interview with the with Yes Network. And it was like the most comfortable I ever felt. Like when it's for you, it's for you. You know what I mean? And it's just, I felt comfortable with it. And sure enough, it all worked out, man. So coming to New York, a place that I felt, drawn to, and being able to network, continue to do the photography thing, and all of this transpired. One, because hard work for sure, but a Uber ride. A Uber ride, man. So
changed the game.
World, man.
Hey, Uber ride, man. It's crazy. So he's the one that found the Nets job, man. It's crazy.
That was God tapping you on the shoulder, like, listen,
time. Suit up.
Right.
He said, you do what you want, but don't say I don't come through for you.
Right. Always on time, right?
That's a fact.
Absolutely. Let's touch on the Indiana Pacers, the Reggie Miller era real quick.
Yeah.
How, me and Rob were talking a little bit, and he was just telling me how, your first game was when you went to go see the Pacers, I believe. What'd you say, Rob? AI and
Reggie, the best of all time.
Yeah, that's a match.
Best shooters. Talk to us.
Yeah. That's one of the best eras of basketball. Explain to us how you really feel about that, and then touch on Paul George and post Indiana Paul George real quick.
That 90s era was special, man. Look, Indiana, we know, Indianapolis, small market, you're not going to get the crazy, big time names, anything like that. So a lot of guys that we have that we cheer for, were drafted by the team, and we just watch them kind of grow up within the organization. And so, Reggie Miller coming up and having to take on the Knicks, Jordan's Bulls, and that whole era in the 90s, man, was just like a slugfest, man. Like, and
It was Grady.
It was just some like amazing games, and the tension that we see in those games. Look, there's tension in today's games, but it was just different vibe, different feel back during that time when you could really rough a guy up. And so even from a fan standpoint, that hatred went a little deeper. Like, I really didn't like Anthony Mason, Charles Oakley, some of those dudes, So it was just a different,
different vibe. The energy was different.
Energy crazy.
Vibe. So, but one thing about, like, when there's a good team, like, Indiana fans are going to show up and show out. And that was a special time in the 90s, trying to get past the Knicks, trying to get past Jordan. And then during Paul George's time, same kind of vibe with Lance, with, Roy Hibbert, George Hill, David West. and trying to get past LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh and those guys. And those guys to this day, I know a couple of guys on that Miami team said, man, going to Indiana, that crowd was different. And I take pride in that because I was on the mic during those times too. So but those battles were tough, man. And so yeah, it'd be nice to. I know the Pacers got to one NBA Finals. It would have been nice to get to some more NBA Finals, but those were special times. Like seeing Reggie drop 25 in the fourth quarter, or 8 points in 9 seconds. The games with the Pacers and those Miami Heat teams, special games that I'll never forget. A championship or more finals appearances would have been nice, but those are memories that I'll always have.
Wait, Mike, were you in the building when the brawl happened?
No, so I was in I was doing radio. I was in the studio with Bob Lovell at that time.
Okay.
And we were watching it live.
That was crazy.
And I'm reporting on it at the same time. So that was a crazy era too. Steven Jackson and Ron and Jermaine
stepping on people and getting crazy.
And those kind of guys. And the game completely changed after that, for sure.
Absolutely.
The game completely changed from a public image standpoint. So so yeah. No, I wasn't in the building, but I was watching it
close
live,
by.
reporting on it live. Yeah, no doubt.
You was tuned in.
No doubt. That was crazy.
Absolutely. Real quick, clearly photography played an important part of your life. You proposed to your fiance at a gallery.
Smooth guy.
That was smart. That was clean. I saw the video.
Man.
Had the family come out too. You can never go wrong when you incorporate the family.
No doubt, man. It was special. It meant a lot to her, and it was a secret keeping for a long period of time. And so yeah, I mentioned the photography thing, and was working with a lot of people over the course of about 2.5 years or whatever, and probably close to 250 people. And she was like one of the last. Like I was starting to slow down a little bit in terms of working with people, and she was one of the last people that I worked with. And all the people that I worked with, all those photo shoots, was never any romantic vibes or anything like that.
Okay.
Like I really cared about the art. That was all I cared about. And so you certainly, develop friendships and things like that, but never any romantic vibes. And so I do this photo shoot with Erica, and it was just different, and the conversation just kind of flowed. We're vibing off different things, where it may be jazz music, different photographers that we appreciate. And the conversation just kind of flowed to the point where I was forgetting to click. Like I'm talking and holding the camera down. Like,
you gonna shoot?
And I gotta get these
I'm
shots
waiting.
in. So right. And so the shoot ended, and then I'm like calling people and like, yo, this energy was a little bit different.
Up?
And I think, when I sent her
the
the edits, maybe I should, and so I debated things, and so eventually worked out. We started dating. And the chemistry was just, solidified. It was real. Sometimes you have that encounter and you're like, did I miss something? Was this what I thought it was?
Yeah.
No,
That's exactly what you thought.
Strong. It was real. Yeah. So from that point on, she became my soul. Like she became my muse, and we just continued to photo shoots. And then I just got the idea when preparing to propose that, I'm gonna take some work that we've done. I'm gonna take the work that we've done. We've done a lot of work, but some of the things that we've done, put it in the gallery, and then invite friends and family to it, man. And so it was a special moment that we won't forget, for sure.
Yeah, that was clean. Me and Rob was talking about. We saw your Instagram. It looks like you two have a nice, goofy relationship. I'm gonna say.
Yeah. It's organic. You can tell they have mad fun together.
Yeah.
Who idea was it to recreate the movies and do the flip the switch video? I was crying.
Yeah.
and the baby boy one too.
Baby boy,
Yeah.
Need your little Ford, huh? Ford.
I hate you.
I hate you too. You ain't my son.
Yeah, she was a little bit like reluctant on the baby boy, but I told her like she did it the first time. I was like, no, you nailed it. You got to do this. And
Yeah.
for whatever reason, that scene always stuck with me. You know, with the movie, I know we've all seen it like a bunch of times.
And you low key look like him from the side a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh man. So like I laughed at that scene like so many times, and like watching it, seeing Snoop talk to the kid like that. And so I was like, nah, we gotta
I gotta do it.
That was perfect.
Yeah,
Everything
so
was perfect.
yeah. So now we just ideas may just pop into our head, and there may be something that I may drag her to do, and then a lot of times it's something that she may drag me to do, but we get tons of laughs out of it, you know, every single time. And so and that's normal life. Pandemic life just created
facts.
It turned up
more
a whole nother
opportunities
notch.
to do. Right, whole other notch. So so we both keep each other on our toes for sure.
Nah,
That's good, man.
That black love, that's a beautiful thing to
That's good,
to
man.
admire and witness. And I could tell like it's organic, it's genuine. Like you could tell that you guys are really into each other. So that's a beautiful thing. Listen, man, we gotta raise a toast to the king.
My man.
Killing it in Brooklyn.
Hey.
You know, and we just really appreciate everything you're doing, and we just want to stay connected, and we enjoying to watch you grow, man. To you,
Man,
Wish you
to
more
you guys
success,
too,
man.
man. I appreciate you guys. Much success, and thanks so much, man. It's good being on with you guys.
absolutely, man. We definitely have to stay connected for sure. It's the Rob and Rob for Life podcast, along with my good brother Rob McLean and Mike Grady. We out of here.
For life.
You're not a scholar, get addiction. I'm bored like you in the league, only way that people paying. I started believing that I was one that wouldn't make it. That gave me more reason to question pictures people painted. I stopped giving a fuck.